What's up, y'all? It's KB. I love movies. Uh, Tonight we have a newcomer, and we're just waiting for him to show up. So, welcome back. If you've been here before, if this is your first time here, welcome. So, while we're waiting, just want to acknowledge the people in the chat. As always, we have Agent James joining us, saying what up. He's on time. We got Movies with Ryan saying it's not going to be late. Thanks. Good to see you. We got Holland. What's up? Yeah, nice to see it, Ryan, early. Early, late, you watch the replay, it's all good. It's all love. We got Emmett in the house asking, what is your full name? Emmett, do you work for the government? We got Benicio. What's up, my brother? Shout out to the man with the master plan. What's good? We got Sean joining us. What's going on, sir? I'm going to start calling you Magic Mike Hands. We got Magic Hands joining us. What's going on? Johnny. Everybody, go over to What's Johnny Watching after this stream. Check out his top 25 of the 90s list. He did a really great job. I watched it earlier. Dude knows his stuff. And, from one cinephile to another, I could appreciate that. So, I don't know, maybe a conversation in the future. We shall see. Turn a fan. Bro, I was thinking about you today because I was saying it's only April. We're going into April soon. And I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do as far as a movie goal next year and what you're doing as far as watching all of your unopened titles, unwatched titles from A to Z with the numbers. I think I'm going to take on that task in 24. I could just start it now and go through, first quarter next year, but I want to build up to it and hopefully give my chance to watch a couple of them this year to cut down on that list. But check out Turner Fan 77. He has a good page, and he also is doing what he does over there. We got Mama Blu-ray joining us. Hello, Bonnie. After we're done here, please hop over and check out her daughter, Movies and Sue. She's going to have her weekly Q&A. There it is. And she's going to be talking about the Jonathan Majors arrest and also the first pics of Lady Gaga as Harley. After that, at 9:15 Eastern, we're going to have Bob over at Bob's Blu-rays talking about The Whale, continuing his What It Means to Us series, which is really good and really insightful. So after we're done here, hop over to Sue at the top of the hour, then hop over to Bob at the following hour at the 15-minute mark. We got a couple more people joining us, but we also have our guest joining us. So I'm going to bring in my man, Jay Rick. You might know him as Jordo. What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Good, good. Let's give you a nice little background here. Make you feel welcome. Boom, 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 boom. I already deleted it. Damn. All right, I'll get it back. Uploading. I love this StreamYard thing, but sometimes it's not the fastest. There we go.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, man.
Loving that.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I was scrambling, got off work a little bit ago, and I was like trying to get some exercise in, and I was like running low on that because it's getting hotter outside.
Yeah.
We run out of time. I was throwing down dinner real quick, but I'm good, man. I'm super stoked. We've been trying to get this going for like.
I know. The thing that you'll hear a couple of people saying it, like Mel, My Killer Podcast says it, Bob's Blu-rays, about welcoming people in, whether it's a live stream like this, somebody's in the chat, or somebody just hit you up on IG, and it's one thing, like especially for me, to have conversations with like the established people as far as like the ones everybody follows and checks for and everything. but I think it's equally as important to check the people just getting started, because it wasn't that long ago I was just getting started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Next
Yeah.
week makes a year. I still feel like I'm wet behind the ears and brand new to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I know that I was coming to you because like it wasn't even, it was, what's wild is like the first person I actually got into in this community, which is so wild to see like all the people that like I've like talked to in chats and stuff like that through all this time. But like the first person I ever started watching was James over at 20th and 21st Century. Like
That's my dude.
I know, man. Like I'm a big Criterion guy. I mean, I'm not like loyal like that's, but that just happens to be the label I collect most stuff because they have the most things I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But like I was just like looking, I think I was looking up stuff about the Wong Kar-wai set because you know there was like all the controversies about the transfers and all that stuff, and I was going to James and like his video is like I think it's one of the most popular videos now at this point, but like it was like very helpful, and now I own that set because he stood by it. So learned about him, then I learned about you through him and like a bunch of other people. So like, you know, and you know, here I am. I told you I'm not even really trying to do a YouTube channel exactly myself right now. I just wanted to make a Instagram page about my favorite stuff and got involved with this community and in a chat way. And I really want to be a filmmaker. So that's what my goals are. So that's why I can't do YouTube because I don't want to get distracted.
Right. Because you're either creating content or creating films. Which one you want to do?
Exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like Ridley Scott didn't make Alien until he was 40. So I got some time, but like I'm 32. So, you know, we still got 8 years. So yeah.
You'll get there. There. And we're going to talk about Criterion too. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So you've seen this before. The way we like to start things is we start off with a non-movie question. Then we get into good stuff, talking movies, which, you know, you and me, we do all the time on Instagram. So we could talk all day. And then we end with the 5 takes like we always do.
Yeah.
Just going to catch up in the chat before we continue because it's piling up. Let's see who else is joining us tonight. So we left off with Mama Blu-ray. We got Mizzy in the house. We got Laren in the house saying hi. Everybody saying hi. We got Tony in the house. What's up, Mr. Tony? We got Caprice joining us. What's going on, lady? We got Mika joining us. What's up, sis? She's another great person to follow. I mean, they just got started. Her and Kira got started with their YouTube channel, but their podcast is always hitting. And they're one of the best live stream guests. You know, you see them all over, so that's cool. Right. And of course, now they got the Lost Girls, so it's official.
It's multiple brands. Oh yeah.
always. People saying hi to each other. Who else is on the check-in? We got Jim Power saying, "What up, y'all?" Good to see you in here, Jim. We got Drew, Debut with Drew, saying, "What's up?" Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. If you like what you see, you know what to do. I don't have to say it. I just got to throw it up. Boom. Go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So please do that. Boom and boom. So to get us started, I was looking at the title on your page the other day, and he said something about eating junk food and watching rubbish.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it made me chuckle. But if we talking junk food, what are the staples? What are we throwing down on?
So I've changed a little bit since the pandemic.
All of us have.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not isolated to me. I went through a whole health journey, so my junk food is like way less now. But in terms of what my Achilles heel is and what I'm always weak to, it's potato chips. Like it just is. Like, it's not sour candies. Like, I mean, like honestly, the only candy that I'm a really weak person for is like peanut butter chocolate. Like that's it. But other than that, though, it's just like I could throw down a bag of Lay's real quick. Like it don't matter.
Yeah. You know, people always ask, are you sweet or savory or sweet and salty? And I'm salty. So it's like, give me some chips. I don't care. Like I grew up in New York, so we had Wise and we had Ruffles and Bontons. And then later on we had like other people from like Pennsylvania and all that. So, but give me some, I don't know, sour cream and onion Ruffles or some salt and vinegar chips.
Oh yeah. That's it.
Kettle chips. I used to, honestly, I used to sit down with a movie and just kill a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, what's this pain? I never had heartburn in my life. And then they said, yeah, you probably shouldn't eat that anymore. I was like, you're taking away my favorite chip. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know. Maybe I don't know who out there needs to hear this, but you can't live off Doritos.
Very true.
It's a diet that just doesn't stand hold up. But yeah, don't you wish you could?
For real, I do. For real.
But yeah, with that bio on my Instagram, like I mean, obviously, like a child of the '90s. Like I was born in '90, so like Home Alone is like is a staple, of course. I just I think I made that Instagram around the time that it was Christmas, and I was like, what better way to sum up? I'm not even a big like thriving for nostalgia guy. Like that's not really like something I always do. But like what better way to sum up a person who watches a movie almost every single day than that that quote.
Is that what you're trying to average, like a movie a day?
I try to. I mean, I work from home, so I'm able to like manage that if it's a little slow, things like that, or like like I'm privileged to have that opportunity. But honestly, it doesn't always happen. But usually it's about 3 to 5 movies a week. Back to like having aspirations and dreams within the film world, like my thing about movies is like I want to learn. It's homework, like it's like not homework in a bad way, it's a fun way, so it's one of those things where I might sit down like and just either rent something. Like today I actually started, because I've never seen it, but I heard John Wick 4, which I haven't seen yet, was super inspired by it. I started watching Lawrence of Arabia, and that movie is very sick. It's very long. Very long. But like honestly, like if you like give yourself into it and realize like we wouldn't have Temple of Doom, like we wouldn't have Raiders, we wouldn't have all this stuff because of this
very
movie.
True.
Not
very
that
true.
always makes that always validates that original as but like in this case, it's like this is just as good. Like the set pieces, the design, the cinematography is just like unreal.
Omar Sharif, man, he kills that movie.
It's like unreal.
Steals it.
I got to the intermission and like was like, I gotta work. So
that's a good stopping point though, because like the second half of the movie, it's almost like coming back from a second half of a Broadway musical or a play. So it's like a total shift. So
I could see where it's getting that way, because where the first part ends, it's when Lawrence says, he enjoyed killing someone, and it's like, oh, okay, and then like the army just shrugged it off, like whatever. So I could see where it's kind of going. So I'm excited. It's awesome. But yeah, like I try and do a movie almost every day if I can. If not, like I said, 3 to 5 movies a week is like my goal.
Yeah.
But I'm also not trying to watch all the classics. I want to watch trashy stuff too.
You gotta switch it up, man. Yeah. You gotta have your guilty pleasures in there. You gotta have your movies that you watch like once or twice a year and get them in. Yeah, I'm not like living in my Criterion closet kind of person. So, I got to get my Last Dragon in there. Pretty soon I'm going to have my Showgirls in there. So
look, I didn't catch it on the pre-order. I think you can still pre-order it. It's just not.
Yeah, it's just not going to be as discounted.
But like, I'm super stoked on that. Actually, that's a movie that like I'd always seen by osmosis. Like, growing up, it'd be like
it's on cable.
Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. I saw certain scenes, and like I was also raised to think that like it's so bad it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, I watched it for the first time in full recently. Not true. It's just a good movie.
It's just good.
It's camp. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's campy, cheesy goodness. So you just got to rock with that and just say, this is not going to be Lawrence of Arabia. It's going to be what it is. The same thing with John Wick. It's like, you just got to go in and just say, look, this is going to be a roller coaster ride. And I've seen it twice, so I could tell you it's a roller coaster ride.
Right, yeah.
And you just got to go in right from the beginning and say, look, I'm going to sit back. This thing is just going to pick me up, take me, and not let me go until the end. And then you walk out, you realize, oh my God, it's been almost 3 hours. And then you're like, that was great.
Yeah.
You're not going to do a critical analysis of it. But I will say, because I know you're a film guy, the cinematography is awesome. Like it's too good to be in this movie.
In John Wick?
Yeah. Yeah. Dan Laustsen does his thing with this movie. And I'll just say one more thing. Like there's a famous YouTube video essayist, and the channel name is Every Frame a Painting, which is such a great name.
Very good.
But that is pretty much John Wick. Every frame is a painting.
That's the kind of, like, I know we can't expect every movie to have that, but like that's something that like I really, really, honestly, that makes sense, because even more with the Lawrence of Arabia thing, because almost every frame of Lawrence of Arabia, I was like, what is this? Am I like walking through a museum? Like, what is this?
Vast desert landscapes. Yeah.
But with John Wick though, like, yeah, man, like it's like something that like I'm super stoked to see it. I've like, honestly, like, I mean, I've heard not one bad thing about it. I'll say that. Like, I've heard like middle, which very few middle opinions, to like great. And then like people don't just throw Mad Max Fury Road out there for nothing. And people are saying it's the best action movie since Fury Road. I'm like, then it's happening. I just watched the third one for the first time the other night. And
that's, to me, that's the weakest one of the previous three. So.
See, I actually kept hearing that. Maybe it's because I kept hearing that, but I loved it. I was just like, I mean, because the second one, truthfully, like, I mean, I love action movies, but like, you'll notice, like, when we get to like when we talk about other movies, not just like within the 5 takes, but like, action's not always my thing. Like, I love Rambo, obviously. I love like all the classics, like all that, but like, it's not where I go to first. So like when I went into John Wick 2, I was thinking that I was going to love it more than the first one. And it's great. It's just like, I got kind of, sometimes when it gets this is going to sound so stupid. But like, it's not that I'm bored with the fight scenes. The fight choreography is so good. It's just that sometimes the set pieces aren't as like dynamic and different by each one with the choreography. That's why the 3 was so awesome to me, because I was like, we're going from a motorcycle fight to a hallway fight, a library fight. Like, the set pieces are just so much more like, whoa. And I could see now why 4 is getting what it's getting in terms of time, because I feel like it sounds like it's up that.
Yeah. I'm going to give a little warning to everyone in here, because I don't want people to leave, but you see how the back and forth is? This is how we are in the chat. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge the people that are joining us and just see what they're talking about. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2-man show. So we got Michael on the check-in. Jim, thank you. Smash that like button, peoples. Johnny says everyone needs to kick that like button Roadhouse style. Yes, sir. Caprice likes my opening question. What is the rubbish, and is it the same as mine? That's for you. What is the rubbish part? What are you watching that you consider rubbish?
Oh, like, I wonder if that means, do I like the rubbish?
I would assume so.
I mean, honestly, Showgirls. Like, that's I mean, of course, that's considered rubbish. I don't think that's actual rubbish. In terms of like a bad movie that like I think is great, I don't know. I mean, that's so hard.
I can't. So many people call Camp bad,
and it doesn't equal bad. I just told my friend the other day.
No, it's a subgenre. In a lot of cases, it's a series of tropes that make a movie campy.
I'm a big John Waters guy, and
that's Flamingos.
I'm very much an example of like camp and filth.
Alter camp, and filth, for true. Holland says, "My man, it's chips."
Holland knows.
Pain don't hurt. Oh, you haven't had heartburn yet, Laren, and I don't wish that on you, but that's all I'll say. Yeah, man, Jim, I'm with you. That's my kryptonite too. Sour cream and onion, baby. We got brother Dell joining us. Jordo is my
What's
long
up,
lost
Del?
twins. Yeah, and peanut butter and chocolate, greatest combo ever.
We'll throw on a movie, Del. Let's go.
I know, right? Do a little watch along. Cape Cod chips are so good. You ain't ever lied, Bonnie. You ain't ever lied. Mizzy says yes to salt and vinegar, but yeah. Dell says no to salt and vinegar. Crime against humanity. You know how I got started with salt and vinegar? I'll tell you. So, scenario: Brooklyn. We're playing basketball. You know, you send one dude who lost from the opposite team, but they didn't pick him for the next team. Mm-hmm. So you give him a couple dollars. He goes to the store and gets everybody, you know, chips, candy, Gatorade, what have you. And one day he brought back salt and vinegar chips and a fruit punch Gatorade for me. And I was sweating because we won like 3-4 games in a row. We were just, it was like our court. And I stopped in between games and I was like, what the hell is this? And I tried it. And then I took some Gatorade. I was hooked. So what was that? Jordan 4s, Jordan 5s. So like 87, 86. So I was like 16, 17 ever since.
Do you go? I have a question about that. Do you go by years by what shoes you had?
Yeah. When it comes.
Sorry, you said Jordan 4s and Jordan 5s. I was like, was that what that was? That's cool.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I love that.
That's what the OGs. Laren likes salt and vinegar as well. You can't live off Doritos. Shut your dirty little mouth.
You could try it, Ryan.
Jim, you got to put me on to what Middleswarth chips are. If you're from the north, you know. I don't know, but I'm always willing to try. Yeah, Johnny, good in doses. Very true. I love all this chips love. My peoples. Definitely a chip man myself. Yeah. Everything in moderation, including moderation. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, Mama Blu-ray knows what's up. Cape Cod chips with some French onion. Now you're talking. Yeah, I tried so hard. I hit up every Best Buy in my area to get that Steelbook 4K of Lawrence of Arabia. I'm still rocking the region-free UK import, but that's okay.
I guess I'll have to do that too.
What's up, monkey? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I know Tony does this. Movie a day minimum. It's what I've been doing for the past 3 years. It really helps with the watch piles. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Yep, one a day or they'll pile up. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, people going back and forth. What you've been watching? Yeah, I know Susan does this too. She watches at least one. And then sometimes Mama Blu-ray dips out and Susan will throw in another one. See? He likes 3 better than 2.
Del, we gotta hang out, Del.
Yeah, it sounds that way. For the potato chip lover, I guess he's talking to you, but it could be either one of us. What is your favorite meal to make?
I mean, honestly, I guess it kind of relates to chips. There's something I really loved making during the pandemic that was a part of like my healthy journey stuff, and it actually is really good. It's called cheeseburger soup, and it's essentially like taking like ground beef, or I think it was ground beef, and then like I actually haven't made it in a while, so I can't really remember every ingredient, but it's really good, and it's just like it's supposed to kind of mimic like that kind of flavoring, but obviously more in soup form. But is it me?
No, it was me because I was seeing you on my background computer. I'm like, I froze, so it must be on me. You're good. I hope everyone else heard that answer.
I think I was okay.
In case Jordo did not get to make a list, have you given any thought to your top 25 90s list before sending your list to Tim by the 31st?
So I actually started it. Well, how's he going to do that? Does he reveal them? Because okay, well then I'll send mine in. But I mean, it's been really tough. I'm down to 28.
You're getting there. That's
And
better than some people, right, Bob?
Yeah, I forgot that Jurassic Park and Dumb and Dumber were 90s movies for a second, and I was like, well, so those are the ones that were added after 25, because so but right now my number one right now is sitting at Silence of the Lambs. I'll spoil that. It's just like
that was mine.
Yeah, that's right, it was yours. I watched your video.
Yeah. Everybody saying hi to Bob.
What's up, Bob?
Yeah, check in at 9:15 with him on his stream. Yeah, I saw the freeze frame. It looked terrible. It was the Blu-rays for Horrible Bosses 1 and Goodfellas Horrible Bosses 1. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I just pulled a Bob. Bob is always freezing. He loves live streams, but he's always freezing.
You gotta risk it for the biscuit.
Good question. So for the benefit of those that don't know, Tim over at Tim Talks Talkies is doing a community challenge. He's asking everyone to make a list of your top 25 movies of the 1990s as a decade. However you want to get him the list, if you want to email, it's timtalkstalkies@gmail.com. You could go to his Instagram and DM him the list under any of his. You could leave a comment under each one. You could watch his YouTube video talking about the process, or under his own one and drop your list there. Any which way. Or you can make a video yourself. You have until Friday, March 31st. What he will be doing is compiling everyone's list and ranking them. So pretty much it's like if you have 25, your Silence of the Lambs is worth 25 points. Whatever comes in at number 25 is worth 1. If you only do 10, then it's 10-1. So on April 8th, the evening of April 8th, we're going to have a live stream with a whole panel of great guests, self included, and we're going to reveal the results, which is really cool because it's kind of like, especially for those who actually sent in a list, you kind of want to see where your choices got in. And even if you pick things that, might be personal favorites to you, but they're not necessarily popular. Like you said, you almost left off Jurassic Park. That's going to be up there. But like if you left that off, you still want to see where Jurassic Park fell in.
Exactly.
So we encourage everyone to join us on the evening of April 8th. That's a Saturday. Come and hang out and just see the reveal, because I think it's fun. This is the third time he's done it. He's done it with horror movies first, and he's done it with Christmas movies. So now we're doing 90s, and people are encouraging him to do it again with the 80s. That's my teenage years there. That's going to be too hard for me. But
that's going to be crazy, honestly.
Yeah. You think about just all the horror movies that you love in the 80s, and then you think about all the comedies from the 80s, and then all action movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, and it's good to see that everyone is hopping in and sending lists different ways. Yeah, so it'll be the 25, it'll be honorable mentions. Let's see. I'm down to the low 30s. I'll get down to 25 probably on the 31st. Yeah, just make sure you get it in. Yeah, you're making progress, Bob. I remember when it was 50. Don't give up. If you have to, just take the list and cut it at 25. Whatever falls below, that's the chaff, man. Just let the chaff fall.
I'm only laughing because I know what it's like. Like I know
we all do.
I'm only laughing because of that.
Caprice, I'm one of the guilty people. I revised my list, I think 3 times, and then I made a video and it was different from my last revised list. So yeah, I don't know how I did it either, Jim, because when I started watching other people's videos, I was like, oh yeah, what about da-da-da-da-da? So I did that like umpteen times. You're right. Sometimes you just gotta say, nah.
Just gonna sit it out. I feel you.
Yeah. Well, at least join us on April 8th so you can see the results, Vinicio. I think that'll be fun. I know it's hard to do, Bob. I left off some absolute bangers. You have to. It's 10 years. And for a lot of you, that's 10 years in your teens.
Mm-hmm.
And like I always say, like 12, 13, 14, that's where you started to develop your personal movie self.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you do that, you have favorites. So
Mm-hmm.
like people who grew up in the 90s and had their teenage years, action and comedy, that was your thing.
Right.
So if they do 80s, that's going to be me. I spent my whole teenage life in the 80s, so it'll be crazy. Caprice, I'll tap out on an 80s list. That's impossible for me. I hear you, sis. I hear you. Laren, I want to make a list, but I'm not sure I could actually do it. I have roughly 53 hours. I couldn't rewatch everything, but I know what I like. And what I did was, I know you're big on this. Um, I used my top rankings on my letterbox. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I thought it was a 5-star movie, it may not be my, absolute favorite. Like let's say Empire Records. Love that movie.
Right.
But I didn't give it 5 stars, so that means it shouldn't be in my top 25. But everybody has a different perspective to how they see their list. And that's the beauty of it.
I'm glad you shared that tip in your video too, because that's what I did. I was like, that's a good idea, because I went through, there's a list on Letterboxd. It's like all the movies, and I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
it's like missing some, or whatever, but it's pretty thorough. And I went through it. It took me weeks, but I like went through it page by page and marked every movie that I know that I've seen. I'm sure I missed some, but anyway, so like I was able to go to the 90s list and do that.
Yeah. Talking Letterbox, how long have you had your account? And what when people ask me, I don't know how you do it. I can't keep track of the movies I watch, or I forget to put it in. What is your strategy for keeping your letterbox up to date?
Well, to answer your first question, I made mine in 2018, and I felt that way. I was like, I can't keep track. I don't really know how to do all that. I know how to do it, but I like didn't know how to like keep up with it or remember to do it. And then I think, to reference it again, the pandemic was a big part of why I brought it back for myself. And then eventually, like I actually thought about this recently, like about like what it means for me, and it's just honestly a diary. I mean, it's called a diary on the app for a reason. I don't even, it doesn't bother me if someone sees I don't do it for like followers or anything. It's just like a me thing, and it's like these were my thoughts on this movie at this time. And it's fun to kind of go back, just like an actual diary. It's fun to go back and like look at what you said about a movie, that you may have forgotten, or maybe you like rewatch it and you feel differently, whether it's good or
Mm-hmm.
bad. I don't know. It's just good for that, to jot down the thoughts, because I was never really a journal, a diary person, anyways, in my actual life.
Yeah.
Pride, it just never was my thing. I'm a good planner person, but like I'm not a diary person. So like having a diary about my movies I watch is very intriguing to me. So that's how I look at it. It's another way to further extend my love for the movies, is by
Yeah.
talking about them in that form.
Yeah. What I do is, if it's something I've seen before,
Mm-hmm.
I just open it up and I just, use it, like you said, like a diary, and just say, marked it that I watch this movie again. And sometimes I don't need to add a review. Sometimes my review is just a matter of who I'm watching it with. You know, like my daughter who still lives with us. You'll see on here sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
third KB, Kayla. Sometimes I'll be like introducing Kayla to, this criterion, or checking out this movie on 4K. I use that a lot because, why are you watching this thing that you've seen 5 times already? Well, now I got the 4K, so I'm checking out the 4K. And it's as simple as that. Sometimes, because I do print reviews, sometimes I will use it as a way of promotion. Like, I'll give like a rough, kind of like a teaser, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll put a link to where the full review is. And the
Right.
review is like 300 to 500 words, so not anything big, but
Right.
it's something.
Yeah.
Dell says I have the Letterbox app on my phone. Just log it in right after I watch a movie. It takes 10 seconds. Facts. And then if you want to go back, maybe you gave it a little extra thought following day or whatever, just go back, edit that entry, and now you could leave a little review, talk about the acting, what you like, what you disliked, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I use it because I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I forget things that I've seen. And it's a great way for me to remember, like, oh, you already seen that film noir from 55 or whatever the case may be. Because I forget. And then you start watching, I'm like, why is this familiar?
Especially when you watch so many, like a lot of us do.
Yeah.
It's the best social media app.
It is, because especially as you get to know other movie lovers, like I follow people who are critics, I follow people who are major collectors, I follow people who I definitely disagree with every time. To me, it's like all they have is constant hot takes. It's like you're hating just to hate.
Right.
But I do that just because there's two types of haters. There's the people who hate just to hate, and then there's the haters who actually have a point. And they just want to make sure everybody knows it. So it's like, I'm going to get attention. That way you're going to be like, but why? Let me tell you my why.
Right.
I like those people, because if you have an opinion, you better be able to back it up. Otherwise, I don't want to hear from you.
Yeah. And that's my thing about Letterboxd is, like, even if it's people that you disagree with a lot of the time on a movie, which I only have a couple of those that I follow. Most of them are people that I may not always agree with them, but we kind of see eye to eye on most things, or at least half. But when it comes to like Letterboxd, you can like filter. It's not like other social media apps where you're gonna see some negativity, some stuff you don't want to see. It's gonna get suggested. The great thing about Letterboxd is, for now, until they, they may get bought and it changes, I don't know. But it's something that you can filter your experience. You can even if it's a negative review about a movie you love, that person that you follow, unless you just willingly follow crappy people, I don't know. Yeah. You can kind of choose what you're getting, and I like that, especially in a day and age where social media can be such a toxic thing. I like that you can filter that a lot more.
Yeah. Oh man, hate. Shout out to Chappelle Show. Oh, man. Benicio says there are definitely some people I follow like that on Letterboxd. It's true, but they're attention getters, and just do that. Laren checking in and say, I'd like to see Point Break at least get a spot, talking about the top 25 in the 90s. I want to make the list just to boost the chances. Put it in first place, 25 points, even if you don't think it's the best, like I said about Silence of the Lambs, that was my nightlight, man. I used to go to sleep every night to it. So it's good. Just perfect.
I'm not gonna. I don't mean it's Silence of the Lambs. It may as well be Moby Dick at this point in terms of its legendary status. But I won't spoil it. But every time I watch it, I still get surprised by the trick moment, the helicopter. Yeah. Towards the end of the movie, I'm like, I always forget that happens, and I'm like, what going to do? It gets me every time, even if whether or not I see it coming. It's just something that's just unreal. Jonathan Demme is he's a filmmaker I really love, and someone I'm slowly getting more and more into, past your Silence of the Lambs or your Stop Making Sense to Talking Heads doc. When you get more into their stuff, or his stuff, it's he was so good. Something Wild with Jeff Daniels and
great one.
Melanie Griffith. Who is it? Who's in Something Wild? I can't remember her name right now. It's leaving me.
I don't know why I'm thinking. As soon as you said Melanie Griffith, I'm like, that sounds right, but
it's not Melanie Griffith. It's
it's Melanie Griffith. Jeff Daniels, Melanie Griffith, Ray Liotta. Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah. Love Something Wild. It's so good. Demi's awesome.
Yeah. Which version of Silence of the Lambs you have, 4K or Criterion Blue?
I'm sticking with my Criterion Blue for now. I mean, I'm also just not someone that as long as I'm happy with my copy, I don't always upgrade. One of the movies in my top 5, or my 5 favorite movies, is still the Blu-ray, and it has a 4K upgrade, and it's had it for a while. I just I try not to do that because there's probably other things I'd rather buy that are newer and that I don't have. So I haven't done a full upgrade with everything. I did it for Uncut Gems. I did it for that because that release was so much more jam packed with stuff than the A24 release.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like just, and also heard that the special feature for Silence of the Lambs, I think the two had like one difference. Like one had one, the other one didn't, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that was all. And I was like, I'll just like, I'll stick with my blue. I also like the boxing for the blue, the Criterion more.
And I always say, and Criterion is great for this, there's a couple of Blu-ray transfers that look just as good, if not a little better than the 4K. Like, I love Do the Right Thing. And I swear that the Criterion Blu-ray looks better than the 4K. Same thing with Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is just a great Criterion to begin with. But then you look at the transfer that they did for the 4K, and I think they did a shoddy job. So you compare that to the excellent transfer that they put on Criterion, and it's like, why am I going to upgrade? Why do that? Going back to Letterboxd, I think the last review I put on Letterboxd was Killer Ghost, and I completely eviscerated it. You're not alone. Rewatch Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, it is a masterpiece. Very true. You mentioned Stop Making Sense. I hope A24 releases the 4K of Stop Making Sense. I didn't realize they had the rights to that.
Yeah, I don't really understand. Am I back, by the way? I don't know if that was me or...
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I mean, obviously they're doing it because David Byrne did the song for Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's got to be why they're linking up. But like in terms of the rights and stuff, I mean, that's a hard movie to like. I have a DVD that my mom got me for Christmas or birthday or something like years ago, and that a local record shop in town like special ordered for her. Like
That's
it's
cool.
like, but like it's not like something I see like on Amazon all the time. I'm not sure if it's just readily available, but I would love a re-release.
It's not. It's like $45.
Yeah, so I would love a good re-release of that movie because it's so good.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched Silence of the Lambs. I see new clues every time. So wonderful. It is such a deep movie. And yeah, not even that you forget, like we were talking about with the ending, but it's like things that clue you off. You know, there's a lot of like murder mysteries, or in this case, a psychological thriller, where it's like you watch it once, you're like, okay, I know how it ends. I don't need to rewatch it again. But something about the Lambs, man, it just brings you back.
Yeah.
And yeah. Caprice disagrees. I don't think Silence of the Lambs. Oh, no, it doesn't. You're right. You're right. I thought you were saying you don't see the hype or something.
Especially since like in this day and age where like we have moved into this true crime era of stuff. I mean, Silence of the Lambs, I mean, it's one of the only movies that win the top 5, right? And like, you know, it's got plenty of praise, but in terms of now how we look at serial killers and storytelling, I do kind of feel like it's a little not underrated, but under the radar in terms of like it's where it is in the lexicon of things.
Yeah, it's kind of like everything kind of mixed in together, but it really stands apart for real. Talking about Criterions just for a minute before we get into the 5 takes. You mentioned it's like your favorite boutique label and to get in, whatever. I won't ask you how many because that's a silly question. I don't care about people's collections in that way. I want to ask you, do you agree with the film school in a box mentality that a lot of people share with Criterion releases?
Do people say that in a negative or positive way?
Positive way.
Yes. So I only think I'm gonna have a flip side to this positive note because like it's something I realized with the Sound and Sight poll that just came out, the new one. Sight and Sound, excuse me. But to start on the positive side, like like that is why I love it, is because there is stuff. I mean, truthfully, other than 8.5 before I bought the Fellini set, 8.5 was it. And of course, I could have done individual like releases, or I could have found it online, whatever. But like, I watched La Dolce Vita a few months ago, and I was like, I said on my Letterboxd review, on a good day, I would say this is the greatest film ever made. And truthfully, wouldn't have actually known that if I had not bought the set.
And that got me into Fellini.
Yeah, I mean, La Dolce Vita is like unreal how good that movie is.
Yeah.
I'm actually watching The Sopranos for the first time right now. And on season 6, by the way, it's as good as they say. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But there was an episode where they were like Uncle Junior's like they walk in and Uncle Junior's watching the end of La Dolce Vita and they're like, "What is this? How is it?" And they're like, "I don't know." They had a moment where they were like pulling a statue of Jesus through a helicopter, and I'm like, it's so funny just hearing these Italian guys talk about Dolce Vita,
and they have no idea.
Yeah, they just, what is this? Even in like the 50s, or even the 2000s, they didn't know. But
No.
but yeah, like Criterion is good for that. I mean, the flip side of that argument is when you look at the Sight and Sound poll, I think it was like 51% of those movies were owned by Janus Films. And there is a bit of a commodity thing that is like kind of gross about it. As much as I love Criterion, I feel like we don't talk enough about how they do kind of monetize stuff in a way that's like it's still good. It's for film preservation. I mean,
it's still restoration. It's still film preservation.
But like, there is something to say where like most of a poll that's like done every 20 years is owned by one company. It's just kind of like, that's like the flip side to that whole like film school in a box. But I do think that that's the benefit of Criterion, and it's why I think it's the best one. But I do know that like I want to get more in the Indicator. Indicator seems like something that I would really like, because they seem like they're doing like the same kind of movies, but like not as well known or acclaimed. Not that Criterion doesn't have their unknown movies in their collection. They have plenty, but I just want to find something that's not always trying. And also Criterion's been on this trend of like doing the 4K restorations of stuff, and you know, also doing newer movies more often. And that's
I think right now they're in damage control mode. And I think that has a lot to do with the New York Times article saying like, where are the Black filmmakers in the collection? And then the follow-up saying, where are the female directors in the collection? So besides being late to the 4K game, they're also like repairing their image by saying, you want Black filmmakers? You want people of color? You want female directors? Here's 3 Denzel films in 1 year.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. I'm happy. I got all 3, but at the same time, keep the diversity, keep the beautiful aspects of what made the Criterion Collection for all these years. You don't have to give us something that's, you know, just came out in 2022 to make us feel good. You know, you don't have to release, and this is the Arrow thing, but you don't have to release Boyhood when there's so much other stuff that you could actually get into.
Yeah. But when it comes to the Criterion thing, in that article, like James's video about the Criterion and the Black History Month he did was really good in talking about all the stuff, that all the things that they've added. And I agree with you. Like sometimes it can kind of feel like posturing for sure. I do. There were benefits to that. Like, of course, I think this came out before that article was released, but let me tell you, Spike Lee's Bamboozled is
so good.
So good. If I honestly, if there wasn't another movie I wanted to talk about that was, you know, critically not liked, but I love it, that would be one of them, because that movie, we still don't understand that movie. I'm gonna say that.
It still ruffles feathers in ways that you don't expect. Like when I first saw it, I walked out, I saw it in the theater, and I said, this is an equal opportunity offensive film. And there's going to be people who love it for that reason and people who hate it for that reason. And the problem with divisive films, people forget them too quickly.
Yep.
But you got to go back and visit it. I want to catch up a couple chats here before we get into the 5 takes, because we got some good ones here. Caprice is talking about Silence of the Lambs. I know that nowadays you don't hear people talking about it or have it in their top list, so it's kind of rare to have someone say it's my favorite. Now you got 2. Maybe it was the first one in a long time I've heard say this is my favorite film in years. It is. You know, I have favorite films of every decade. Silence is the 90s. Dark Knight is the 2000s. It's just like certain films that just I can't leave alone.
Yeah.
You ask my wife, she'll tell you I watch The Dark Knight too often. I watch Silence of the Lambs too often. I will never put it on to go to sleep anymore. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not going there. But
Oh man, you don't need Goodbye Horses.
no, I
Well,
don't. I don't need Buffalo Bill. So what's your take on Criterion Wally based on what we were saying?
honestly, that's awesome. I mean, I don't want to see it all the time personally, just because. But I think that I'm on board with what everyone else has said, which is like, does this mean that we're going to get access to other 20th century like movies? I mean, do I think that every Pixar movie needs to be added? No, I don't.
No.
I think Wall-E was the good choice of
it's
those.
culturally important.
Yeah. And it plays with like silent film in that movie. Like, like there's a lot of like, early silent stuff that's there in the first 45 minutes of Wall-E. So like I'm for it.
Yeah. Talking about Bamboozle, Del says needs to be seen by way more people. Agreed. Johnny's phenomenal film. Agreed. Agree with my theory. The cover of Criterion's Bamboozle scares buyers away. Yeah. Any image of Sambo in a wannabe culturally, sensitive and, be a culture that's like politically correct, something like that is like, ooh, that's offensive to somebody. We shouldn't, I shouldn't even pick that up. That's no good. So,
meanwhile, I'm like, what do you have to say about this? I want to know, Spike Lee.
Yeah, it should spark curiosity. Quick story. I know some of you are going to go over the movies and Sue. Just want to thank you. Hit like on your way out, but we're going to go a few minutes over the top of the hour. Quick story. So Kevin Wilmot, who co-wrote Black Klansman with Spike Lee, made a movie called Confederate States of America, which imagined what if the South won.
Oof.
And yeah, just that's all I need to say about that movie.
Right.
But he had like mini commercials in it, and then a little commentary at the end that made you think, if you thought these things were bad, look at what we still have on the shelves today: Uncle Ben's, Aunt Jemima. And I think the company that saw that was a company that made Aunt Jemima. So now it's like Pearl Mills Company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, go try to find Aunt Jemima in the store. It's not there, but you'll see the red box. It's just a different name. And my wife brought it home the other day. My wife's Italian American, and she's like, "What the hell is this?" Just picture Carmela.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
my wife.
Okay. So, that's amazing.
What the hell is this? This is Aunt Jemima. This is supposed to be Aunt Jemima. I was like, they changed the name. And then she said a few choice words I won't repeat here, but you get the idea. Movies with Ryan didn't buy it at first for that reason. Michael, Dark Knight. I guess I'm in a minority in thinking Wall-E was a better film than not. No,
you're right.
I agree. I think it's an important film. And you agree, Jordo?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, I guess maybe a controversial take. I feel like Up is the reason why people talk about Up is the first 10 minutes.
The montage.
And no one else talks about. I mean, maybe the dog's cute, but like, I don't hear anyone else talk about anything else in that movie. So like, and with Wall-E, it's like, let's talk about loneliness. Let's talk about finding each other in darkness. Like that's some real stuff.
Let's talk about what we're doing to this environment. So many things. This is a good one to leave us off on before we get into the 5 takes. Greatest cinematic mustache. You know what that is? He's loving this. So greatest cinematic mustache. He might go with Kurt Russell in Tombstone or Cheech Marin in Up in Smoke. What say you?
So I guess I'm biased because, okay, here's a little funny story. I came home from camp. I think it was camp or like camping. I don't know. I was young one time when I was like 12 or 13. And my mom, like I hadn't seen my mom, like, because I was on my trip, came home and she was like, let's watch this movie called Up in Smoke. And so yeah, I watched Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke when I was like 14. So maybe Kurt Russell would be most people's answer, but especially since my stash is more similar to Cheech's, I'm gonna go with Cheech Marin.
Nice.
You heard it here
nice.
first.
I like that.
Did you see the Up in Smoke release they're doing for?
Yeah,
I kind of want.
That's not the first time they did the stash box before.
Oh, okay.
I think for the DVD or the Blu-ray, but it's nice that they're doing it again. I just wish it was like actual wood. So like the Wicker Man has an actual wooden box. You know, make it usable if you're gonna do that.
Absolutely.
All right, you ready for the 5 takes?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it, man. Number 1, name the film that made you fall in love with the movies.
So typically I would say like something that came from my childhood, you know, or like teenage years that would be important. And I could name those, but I feel like they would all be kind of like your standard, like your Jurassic Parks, your ETs, your, you know, a lot of Spielberg stuff. So I'm going to choose something that's actually like what made me like become obsessed with like capital F film. It's There Will Be Blood with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Ooh, good one.
I was working at, if you remember, Coconuts, and I was working at Coconuts, and we would get all the used DVDs that people would probably, I don't know where they were getting them, probably from a warehouse, but we'd had people who were just come in and turn in stacks of movies that they were just trading in for money. And like, we had so many copies of There Will Be Blood. And I had heard a lot about it with the Academy Awards. And I wasn't that, this is like past when I've seen like Pulp Fiction. I've seen all the standard stuff that 16-year-old boys get into. And I liked all those movies, but There Will Be Blood was the first time where I was like, this is something that I don't fully understand. The ending, I was very bewildered by, but I was 17, so I didn't know how to take it. Probably the right time to see a movie like that, or the wrong, depending on how you interpret that movie. But yeah, There Will Be Blood. It kind of changed me in a lot of ways, not in like a good way. You know, it's not a movie that you really want to have by your side when people are like, what are your favorite movies? And you say Blood. It's not, it's about a very selfish man and the horribleness of capitalism, but it's just the acting, the score rocked my world. That scene when he takes his son off of the oil rig and he's running across, and Johnny Greenwood's score comes in and he's like doing that, like the drums, and they're like, and then you just have this one beat that's tempo, and then all of a sudden there's these other drums that are completely different tempo and doesn't work in terms of like syncopating. And it just like blew my mind. It's just it's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, good stuff. I remember people kept going back and forth, which is better, There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men. And it took me a long time to like actually separate them and just appreciate them each for their greatness, because they're 2 great films. Talking about great films, number 2, name 5 of your favorite films.
So I have 4 of the 5 here. The one of them I don't have, but I will soon because Criterion's releasing it. But my first one I'm going to say, and I'm doing these aren't like my definitive top 5s, but I wanted to kind of have some mixes of stuff. So my first one is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. It's kind of similar with There Will Be Blood in terms of like me not knowing what to think. I saw it when I was 20, and I think I had seen David Lynch's stuff before. It was not my first. My first might have been Blue Velvet, but I'm not sure. But Mulholland Drive, I remember my friend was coming up to see me in Nashville, where I used to live, for a brief stint, and we watched it really late, and I think I almost fell asleep. It's like not even the greatest first viewing, but it's a movie that like you keep going back, and just like with Silence of the Lambs, but probably even more so, you just uncover new things every single time. The colors are important. The blue in the film is also important. But something that just never left me was that scene towards the beginning, the band behind Winkies that jumps out. The greatest jump scare in film history to me. I love Mulholland Drive.
Nice.
So,
what else?
My second is probably my favorite comedy of all time, if not my top 3. Wet Hot American Summer. I love this.
Interesting.
I love this movie so much. It's very much my kind of humor. Just absurd, like riffs on something that we think we know enough about, and then they just come in and upend that completely. One of my favorite, a scene that I think about a lot and laugh at a lot is at the end when they, like, you know, Amy Poehler and Bradley Cooper are like doing all this stuff to rehearse their performance of Godspell, and they do all this stuff and they're doing all that, they're putting all this work into it, and then they put on this amazing performance of a song from Godspell at the very end of it. After they end and they all stop, the crowd just goes boo. And the funniest thing to me that, like, they just did this amazing performance and they just get booed, and it's just like, that's very much my kind of humor, just weird nonsensical stuff. So that's my favorite comedy, probably. In terms of horror, which Mulholland Drive could be a horror movie, but
True.
probably my favorite, it was either this or The Shining, and I wanted to bring this up also, just speaking of Tim Talks Talkies, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's unreal how good it still is. It's also so funny. People, I think, forget that it's supposed to be kind of funny. There's that scene when when they first get out of the van and everyone's gone upstairs and Franklin's looking at the blood, and they just went to the gas station, and it's very clearly male genitalia in his mouth, and definitely played for laughs. And anyways, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just like, it just doesn't stop. And then when you get to that final dinner table scene, it's just it's just chaos, and it's still chaos. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Have you heard my story on that?
No, please tell it.
I haven't. I did not watch it in completion until last year when that $10 Blu-ray came out at Best Buy. Mm-hmm. So I picked it up, I watched it, and from the opening scenes in the van, I immediately thought, I hate all these people. Mm-hmm. And by the middle of the movie, I wanted them all dead. It's really bad when you start rooting for the killer before you even see him. Well, I wanted somebody to kick Franklin down the hill.
Yeah. You know what? You get that. Technically, he does get thrown down a hill, and I think that's the beauty of the movie. Is I think it allows you to root for the villain, which is why it's fun.
It's Tim loves him some TCM. Me too, Johnny. Me too. In the same way Tim does. But ironically, I did get the 4K, and it's mostly for the special features. I'll do that every once in a while. So, yeah. See, I didn't know this. I thought I'm supposed to be like empathizing for them like a normal person, but this brought out an alternate version of me where I hated the good people. Good to know. My man Fish, no worries, man. Catch a replay. I hope you enjoyed The Whale. You probably need a few minutes. So vino, some tea, something. Take a few minutes and then go check out some other live streams and rewatch us at another time. It's all good. We're landing the plane in a few minutes. Please continue with your 5.
My 4th one is one I don't have yet, but Criterion will soon release. And I was just trying to think of something that, like, I thought about recently, that just from like a perspective of someone who wants to create film myself, I'm choosing Steve McQueen's Lovers Rock from the Small Axe series.
Wow.
That's a movie that I just can't stop thinking about. The music with the film itself and the scene, like, it's just something that, like, Steve McQueen, number one, I have been a Steve McQueen fan probably pretty much since he first hit the scene with Hunger. Maybe a little after. I probably came in on Shame. Mm-hmm. But I would follow him into the ocean at this point. Like, he's just so good, and he just gets better every film he makes. And the Small Axe series I just thought was so good, but I really loved Lovers Rock because, number one, like, it came out in a tumultuous time, obviously, in 2020. So, like, seeing a movie with people in a room happy and laughing and dancing was just nice. And it also isn't like sentimental in a hokey way. It's earned, and it's just a fun movie. And it's also just like there's something I really love it when you can watch a scene where people are just dancing and singing and you get emotional. The scene when the silly game scene is just like one of his best scenes he's ever shot. So Lovers Rock is just it's amazing. I can't. It's a movie that I will just go back and watch scenes from. A
Yeah.
lot.
What year was that for those that aren't familiar with the title?
What year? 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
It came out real recently. It's my only recent pick like that. It's just that I can't stop thinking about, and it's become like one of my favorites.
Good call.
Yeah,
good call. Respect.
Love it.
Respect.
Love it.
Please continue.
And my fifth one is a movie that I watch every year by myself. It's starting to get really sad, but it's appropriate for the movie. It's my favorite Coen Brothers movie. It's Inside Llewyn Davis. It's something that is just so. When you look at the premise, it's so simple. It's just a guy who supposedly is a great songwriter. We don't really know, other than like what he made with his friend, who everyone keeps talking about him, even though he's passed. We don't really know. Every single person that hears him sing is just like, you're okay. And it's something that like, and not spoil too much of it, but there is something about that loop reveal. There's not any sort of sci-fi approach. It's just like there's something about that towards the back half of the movie. There's like this kind of feeling like you've seen this before, like in the movie already. And I like that is like that's what life is like. It's like, you're kind of living this stuff day to day, even if it's different renditions of what the previous day was. And Inside Llewyn Davis is just this beautiful, beautiful story that's just, again, like the premise is so simple, but there's like some weirdness to it, which all Coen brothers have that. But like, there's something about it that's just really beautiful in that film, even though it's pretty sad at times, but I love it.
Yeah. It took me a while to appreciate that film because it was a little too folksy for me as far as the musical choice. But
Me
then
too.
I realized that it was like kind of just like the backdrop to the bigger story, and you get it more into like character development. And you're like, man, this is really, really good. And you have to kind of remember it's a Coen Brothers movie because it doesn't initially hit you like a Coen Brothers. But when you start to get all those quirky aspects, and I wouldn't even call them tropes, but just quirkiness of what they do in their movies, you're like, there it is. Now I get it.
And I'm the same way about the music. Like, I'm not a big folk music guy. Like, I've never been a huge Oh Brother guy personally, because like I'm just not
Me
a fan.
neither.
It's not my thing really. But the way the music is used in the song, when he sings Fare Thee Well at the end, I cry every time because it's just him. It's just him and his guitar, and that's the song that him and his partner used to sing. And like, it's also just like, I'm not a Marcus Mumford guy, and that I'm not a Mumford and Sons guy, but like,
Yeah.
he's awesome on that soundtrack.
Just some comments about that.
Yep.
Movies with Ryan. It's also his favorite Coen's brother. Perfect movie to him.
Mm-hmm.
Dell agrees. It's so good.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Let us move on to everyone's favorite question. Number 3. Name a classic movie that everybody loves, you can't stand.
Let me preface with
Don't preface, just do it.
Let me preface with like, I don't like to ruffle feathers. I don't like to ruffle feathers.
That's what this question is for. Ruffle.
I don't like Inception.
That's okay.
I don't like Inception. Nolan is a filmmaker that I am not always a huge fan of. I like him when he's either thinking that he's doing something not smaller in terms of scope, but smaller in terms of the premise. Like Prestige is awesome. I love the Prestige. I love Dunkirk. Those things are. I said, ruffles. I approve of the ruffles. But no, Inception is just like, he loses me when he tries to like really put logic into the things he's trying to say. And it's just, I don't know. I like it fine. It's just not my thing. It's I feel like a kindergartner could have come up with a dream within a dream within a dream. Like honestly, and I mean the coolest scene in the movie to me is when they're doing the where they're almost about to get into limbo. That's like the best part of the movie to me. And then like everything else, I'm like, you're trying to put too much logic on this, man. Like it's really not that. I don't know, and that's why I could like Tenet. Honestly, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but like I love it because at the beginning of Tenet, he's like he has a character literally say, "Don't think about it or don't overthink it, just feel it." And I'm like, cool. Don't explain this.
And that's the key. And that's the key.
So that's my movie. She said,
See, even Mika, and Mika likes almost every movie. She's saying ruffle those feathers. So,
but I do like Nolan. But Inception is just like
my whole thing with Inception is two. I've told the story how it was a blind buy for me. My friend said if you don't like it, he would pay me for the movie. But the other thing is, it's such a great conversation piece when you watch it with someone who's never seen it before, because they want to talk about the ending. If a film could leave you with something to talk about, respect.
Yep.
Even if it's not the greatest film, but it's kind of like a musician. You finish strong, and it doesn't matter the rest of your show, but you finish strong, they want more. And that's how Inception leaves me. Not a perfect movie. No. But yeah, for sure.
Beautifully designed too.
Yeah. Let's flip that and go to number 4. Name a critically hated movie that you love.
So I almost put Wet Hot American Summer in this because for some reason that movie has a low score.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, when the TV shows came out years later, it got acclaim. But I think they were just ahead of the curve. But in terms of my actual answer, I'm going to pick something that I actually watched pretty recently, and I was amazed by how badly it was received. But William Friedkin's Cruising.
I've never seen that.
It's something that like
it's old, right?
It's older. I think it was 80, 81.
Yeah.
Al Pacino. It's about a cop who goes undercover in the gay nightclub scene because there is a serial killer out killing gay men in the bars. And it is something that it's a confounding movie at times. It almost doesn't make sense at times, but not in the Christopher Nolan sense. But
right.
But it's just like there were so many different cuts of the movie because the studio had so much hand in it that like it does kind of lose, but it also kind of works. Like if you watch it, some of those confusing elements kind of play into like who is the killer of this whole thing. And Al Pacino is really good in it. Like he's just kind of.
That's what I remember about it is that it's early Pacino.
Yeah, and it's got like I don't know what the low score is. It's like in the 50s, I think. It's pretty low, and it's William Friedkin playing with something that is like this kind of grimy detective story. It's awesome. I love Cruising. It's so great.
Well, half the people agree with you. It's 50 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So, but I could see that. But you got to look at movies like that, and especially if someone has a mega hit, anything that follows is going to pale in comparison. So. Yeah. I'm off The Exorcist in the early 70s, and it's like, what else you got?
Yeah.
It took me a lot to do that.
Cruising is awesome. I think it's on HBO if anyone wants to watch it.
Yeah, and I think I want to say Arrow has it.
It does. I need to buy it.
Yeah, it's like one of those that it's so old. It's at the top of my wish list, and it's like the first thing I see when I pull up my wish list. And then I start to scroll down. Going back to the mustache, Dell says Sam Elliott in any movie is the greatest stash.
Yeah, you really can't beat it.
That's decades of being awesome with the stash, though. You build that up. Like honestly, I was watching A Star Is Born, and there's that so emotional scene,
right,
with him and Bradley. And I'm just looking at this mustache, man. It's like the mustache was acting. Yeah, Big Lebowski, another one for sure.
I love Lebowski.
Talking Steve McQueen, supremely talented director. Yeah,
so good.
I think I saw Shame first, and then I went back to Hunger, and then they announced 12 Years a Slave. And to me, that's torture porn, so I don't own it.
I can't find myself to buy that one either. How funny. Like I just like it's a great movie. I've seen it
It
once,
is. Yeah.
maybe twice. But
Yeah. I don't need to keep movies that I just was like, oh, that's a great movie. But I know one of these days I'm going to challenge myself to get all the Best Picture winners, and I'm going to have to go there. So we'll see. Comments about Llewyn Davis from before. Huckster in the house.
what's up,
Please
Huck?
catch a replay. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate you. Talking about Tenant. Tenant is great. To me, it's also, we wrote up the pandemic a couple times tonight, but to me, that movie is, it has emotional time, because I think of all the things that got taken away from me, including my health for a little while there in the pandemic. Going to the movies was like the thing that hurt me the most. So I could have, been in whatever kind of physical pain, but not being able to go to the movies was like the great pain for me. Right. And when AMC is based here in Kansas City, they have their headquarters in Leawood, Kansas. So when they announced they're going to have Tenet and reopen the theaters, I wanted to go see it. But I literally waited until there was a showing and no one else was in the theater. I kept looking on the app. No one.
Nice.
And I went to see it. And that was the only way. I was double masked. I have immune system issues, so I didn't even want to risk it. But I risked it to go to the movies. So
what was your takeaway? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it, but I also think I loved it because I was fiending. After a couple of months, I needed something. So even if it was mediocre, which it's not, if it was mediocre, I think I would have still escalated a little bit just to say, yes, yeah, I'm in a theater. I'm amongst, I'm a face in the dark, as I like to say. So that's what made it for me. Thank you again for everyone who's still hanging out. I saw a lot of people bounce out. That's cool. But thank you for sticking with us. And as we land this plane, I'm going to ask my man, Jordo, number 5, who would you like to see me have a conversation with on this channel?
So you've talked to a lot of people that I've already kind of seen and follow. I have 2. Okay, so I have 3. But
go for it.
The first one is the only one you haven't, I don't think you've talked to before. It's a guy I've enjoyed like watching his like reviews. His Richard Diaz. Have you seen any of his stuff? Seems like a nice guy. I mean, that's just kind of like, again, that's just kind of like me trying to find an answer, because you've talked to a lot of people that I already follow. But he's cool. I mean, he's got like a lot. He does a lot of the boutique stuff, and there might be some good conversation there. My other answers are actually, I would love to see a redux of you and James, because in your James video, you don't have the 5 takes. You just kind of have topics. Yeah. So I would love to see a redux. And then I also would like to see a redux like this with Celeste without the horror theme, because I just like hearing Celeste talk. We've never but like I just like hearing Celeste talk about movies. So like having them like a part of like, that in terms outside of horror, I'd be very curious to see like what their responses are. And like I said, with James, I would love to hear more about James, like outside of, just topics that you had.
I like those suggestions. Celeste, that's my friend. Yeah. That's my special friend. Yeah, they show up a lot on Ryan's channel, The Disconnected, on Thursday nights. So like they were there last week doing the the halfway to Black Friday for Vinegar Syndrome, because they have a subscription and Ryan has a subscription, so they like to talk that, and they're just a great hangout, just to vibe with and hear opinions. And that was actually one of my favorite spooky season things, because if people paid enough attention, they learned about them. So just by like their 5 favorites revealed a lot about who they are. So I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, It would be nice. And that's funny. Many of you know on Saturday, I'm going to have kind of like a Ask Me Anything hangout called Open Conversation, where you could pop in, ask questions, and invite past conversation guests. You're now officially invited.
Mhm.
Pop in anytime after 6 p.m. Eastern just to say hi, congrats on my first year, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about some of the changes I want to do. Like I want to go back and at least do a 5 takes with past guests that, you know, came before I had the 5 takes. So like my first ones were with like Nathan Jones,
Mm-hmm.
my friends who run the Gilded podcast. So Christian and Brett, I would like to individually get them on and just do a couple of quick 5 takes episodes, you know, no longer than a half hour just to talk about it. So I think that'd be cool.
I would love to. I'm going to pop in a little bit for sure. I actually, we got
Monkey.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just saw Monkey say something because I said bounce, and he says he doesn't bounce, he swings.
We got a text from someone that, so I'm in a DJ group with my friend and we spin records, and we got a text last minute being like, y'all want to DJ from 8 to 12 on Saturday night? And so I might be doing that, but you're Eastern, so I might be able to still pop in a little bit and say hello before I head down to spin.
What do you spin?
To my, like, what records? I mean, so
like genres, or are you open?
We're very open. That's our thing is like I won't be too long-winded about this, but our name is Gary Randy Newman, and nice. We love the idea of like Gary Newman and Randy Newman, like that's two opposite of music. So like we were like, well, that kind of defines like our musical palette, and so I mean, we could go from Radiohead to Ghostface Killah in seconds, and
love it,
and we make it work. I mean,
I love it.
At least we think we do. But yeah, that's our thing. Is like we play everything. It can go from one. I remember one time we played Death Grips into Barbra Streisand, and it was awesome. So
I love that open format is now a thing, because like I used to spin ever since I was in college, and like our Thursday nights were to hang out. So it was like we would go from me. I also was on the radio station, so they would have like the pop music from like the jukebox, or, you know, kind of like the music ends, fade out, and new song begins. For the first hour, we'd set up, and then I'd play only hip hop, and my friend would come in and play only reggae and rockers and, you know, that kind of stuff. And then we'd go back and forth. And that was a Thursday night hang. And I always wanted to do something, and I would do it on the radio, like, you know, go from like, I don't know, Copacabana to BC Boys,
nice,
to like something off of Led Zepp 2 to, you know, Randy Newman,
and
Burt Bacharach.
And that's like so fun to do, that is to throw people off completely, but like still keep them engaged.
Yeah, and show them how it works. Show them how you could flip it. Talking about Ghostface, simultaneously watching this and Wu-Tang and American Saga. Love Ghostface. That's right, Tony Stark forever. With that in mind, I want to thank you, my friend. You had fun?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be a part of the Conversation alumni now.
Yes, welcome. And I saw you, Jerry. What's going on? Laren says, thanks to both of us. Great conversation as usual. Have a great night. Have a great night, Laren. Appreciate you. Hot saying hi to everybody. And I want to thank everyone who showed up in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us. We always appreciate you, especially those who hanged in there. Thank you, Johnny. Now people saying hi to Huck. Hi, Huck. Bye, Huck. For real. What up, Eddie? Good night. Have a good night. Great conversation. Thank you, sir. Please, if you're gonna rewatch Sucker Punch, Ryan, let me know. I'll do the same thing, like I said, and then we could talk about it. I'm gonna finally start that new series I was talking about called So I Watched That Thing, where, I mean, people bring up conversation. They bring up movies like you bringing up cruising. And I
Mhm.
want to watch them, go back, watch them, get a copy, whatever. And then just have an open live stream. We could just talk about it, spoilers and everything. So I'll just let people know ahead of time, hey, it's going to be spoilers. So if you've seen it, pop in. If you didn't, maybe you don't want to. Thank you, Caprice. Have a good evening, lady. Thank you, Brother Dell.
Thank you, Dale.
All right. So I'm going to land the plane here. Thanks again for doing this with me.
Loved it.
And for everyone else, go watch a movie and have a great night. Pop over to Sue, see what she's doing.